never guess the places that I've been. You never guess the places that I've been. 'Cause everything is like a dream, yeah, but only in that dream that I live in. Never gonna come down from above, 'cause everything looks better from
È una cosa dura.
È un tubo resistente. È un tipo di ferro.
Un materiale.
È un mattone duro. È una specie di ferro lavorato. Si trova nei palazzi, nelle case, e dove...
Nei microfoni.
Nelle acciaierie.
Dove c'è
Posate.
cucchiaio,
Coltelli.
anche... Cosa, papi? Treno,
Le sedie.
le pentole, dove c'è
Nei ponti.
il rubinetto,
Forno.
Gli orologi.
il telen, il monopattino e la macchina e l'aereo.
Il bottone dei jeans.
Auto,
Nella lavastoviglie.
nell'autobus,
Anche gli occhiali.
Il palo della luce.
Buongiorno, se cominciate ad accomodarvi per cortesia. Tra qualche
Good morning.
minuto
Please take your
diamo il
seats
via
because in a couple of minutes we're going to
ufficiale alla
officially
decima
open
edizione
the
di
10th edition of Made in Steel. Thank you.
Ci vediamo dopo. E ancora siamo qua, eh?
Futuro è,
E questo
è una cosa che arriverà. Il futuro vuol dire tipo pensare cose.
Quello che ci sarà domani.
Il futuro significa
Tutto ciò che deve ancora accadere.
tipo cosa c'è domani? Papi, cosa? Leggi sulla... Papi, devi leggere. È come il passato, ma è diverso. Ok, lo dico. Il futuro è una cosa che viene domani, dopodomani, dopodomani. Adesso.
Tra un attimo.
Domenica. Generazione utile. Ah, papi, queste sono domande importanti. Devo cercare di dire delle cose importanti. Che dai una cosa e poi quello che ha dato lo dà un altro e fa così.
E la mamma e il papà sono una generazione e io e mia sorella siamo un'altra generazione.
Ah, generazione vuol dire e la oh mamma, cos'è? Tutti siamo uguali, che gira in tutte le parti del mondo. Da grande voglio fare
Costruttore di auto.
il pompiere, la ballerina.
Chitarrista. Andare nei vigneti.
L'attrice.
Telefonare. Babysitter. Da grande voglio cantare. che viene domani, dopodomani, dopodomani. Il futuro è una cosa che arriverà. Quello che ci sarà domani. Tutto ciò che deve ancora accadere. Cosa c'è domani? È come il passato, ma è diverso. E poi quello che ha dato lo dà un altro e fa così.
La mamma e il papà sono una generazione e io e mia sorella siamo un'altra generazione.
Che tutti siamo uguali. Papi, queste sono domande importanti. Devo cercare di dire delle cose importanti.
Good morning everybody. Welcome to the 10th edition of Made in Steel, the conference and exhibition dedicated to the steel industry. Generations reimagining our world. It is such a big emotion for me to be here today to open the 10th edition with you. Do you remember 2005, the first edition in Brescia? Well, almost 20 years have gone by. 20 years, 10 editions. And we want to celebrate this. And in these days, we will try to restart pushing our horizon behind the obstacles towards a new world. So we're here to celebrate the community of steel, you, the men and women who build horizons. In these 20 years, you've been dreaming together with us, and you have shared, first of all, the beauty of knowledge, know-how, culture. Starting from the contents was the mission of CityWeb from the very beginning, and it is with generosity and sharing our values that you have supported us, providing us with your ideas, your time, in a community that has expanded the borders of steel. Thank you very much for being with us. Thank you very much, because the steel industry is like happiness. It can exist only if it is shared. And CityWeb in the past few years has tried to create a network to expand our borders, focusing first of all on the people, on knowledge, on information, on culture. So thank you very much for supporting us. Our second thanks goes to the silent friend in our lives that has always been at the center of our event. Steel is our silent friend, the friend of progress, the heart of circular economy, the protagonist of decarbonization, sustainable development, the pioneer of digitization and artificial intelligence. Steel that in the coming years will still be the backbone of our country and of the Italian and European manufacturing industry. In this edition, we would like to pay homage to our roots as well. We cannot talk about generations unless you anchor the Kaiser dreams to our roots in the past and to the values of those who came before us. A whole generation of courageous captains that with determination and courage have laid the foundations for the development of the steel industry and of the Italian economy, proving also to be the supporters of CityWeb. The 10th program, the whole program of the 10th edition, which we have put together looking at the future, is nurtured by the values that have been handed down to us, narration and the need to communicate in a new way, the talents, women women, mothers, and professionals, as well as leaders in this first generation of women in the steel industry. Sustainability, technology, the market, and all the questions coming from consumers and steel users, geopolitics, and the challenges of the new world. A very rich program for these 3 days, and you won't be disappointed. Next to our conference room, we will have the arena and the Cedar TV with a very lively program. So before leaving the stage for the institutional greetings, let me mention the video you've seen, The Next Generation. They were trying to answer questions, and they are the hope of our generation, our children, who surprise us and leave us breathless day after day. They teach us on a daily basis the beauty of life, and I believe that deep meaning of our presence in the world goes through those two eyes, asking us every day to be more creative, to be able to rediscover the beauty of a flower. So hopefully you will share this wonder here in Made in Steel. Please find again the wonder and the beauty of being together, the beauty and the wonder of a present time that must and can be creative. The CEDAWeb team, and I can see our beautiful stand right in front of me, we have tried to make this event as beautiful as possible with our communication choices, the videos, this plaza that embraces us all, and I would like to thank our creative director, Mr. Giorgio Guidi. And a sustainable fair thanks to our certification process. Now let's all live together reimagining our world. And let's ask to join me on the floor those who have made all this possible, starting from the founder and president of CEDAWeb and Made in Steel, Mr. Emanuele Morandi. Thank you, Francesca, and thank you very much to all of you for being here at the opening of the 10th edition of Made in Steel, which I believe is particularly important and very, very special. It is special because it marks a passage, a transition. Men and women create institutions, societies, projects, but once all this has been created, it still has to evolve independent of the people who created them. So this is a very special moment for me because it marks the transition. Listening to Francesca's words and looking at the video with all those beautiful children, I have to say that I was really moved. And seeing Paolo here in front of me, who has been recently appointed by the CEDAWeb board, the new managing director, the new CEO, makes me feel full of pride. And of course I'm a little bit nostalgic as well, because I sense that our creatures that created together with Gigi are actually walking on their legs, but this is how it has to be, because like Francesca said, we need roots. We need to listen to our fathers and mothers, but we also need the capability to look at the past. We mustn't be nostalgic of the ashes of the past. We must move on, transferring our passion. My wife, a very wise person, she's a school director, always says we have to enter the phase of training and education. We need to train and educate ourselves, and this means educating them and training them, which means, from the term education, getting the best out of them. And to do that, we must be able to listen to them. And we need to train them, which means we need to suggest them the way they should go without imposing, but rather giving advice when it is requested. This is our role. So this is all for me, and I would like to ask Paolo to tell us about his project for CEDAWeb and Made in Steel for the future. Thank you. Good morning, everybody. Thank you very much, Dad. Thank you very much for creating CityWeb and Made in Steel. CityWeb is a community of steel, a digital, a virtual interface to exchange information, to analyze problems, to think about the future of our world. Made in Steel, you can see it here, is the physical venue for all this. So thank you, Dad, also for allowing this generational transfer. Francesca and myself are now leading this wonderful young team that is really teeming with ideas. And as soon as we started, we immediately thought, how can we bring CityWeb into the future? What can we do to innovate an idea which has always been innovative from the very start? So we have written, we have spoken with experts about a 5-year strategic development plan for CityWeb, and Made in Steel is one of the events organized by CityWeb. And the strong idea is that of going downstream, involving also steel users, thinking about an entire system, a whole value chain. So this is our strong idea for the future. So Made in Steel is one of CityWeb's events. This 10th edition is going to break every possible record. As you can see, we have sold out 1 month ahead, and unfortunately we had to leave some people behind. They will be on our waiting list for the future. We have a significant representation of international companies, almost 25%, and also visitors and buyers are highly international, going beyond our expectations. So let me thank BPER Banca and Fiera Milano, 2 partners who have believed in our idea of the future, and together with them, all our supporters and sponsors who have always been helping us. Without further ado, I would like to thank you all. Enjoy Made in Steel, and I wish you all a wonderful future. Thank you.
Thank you. Made in Steel has always had conferences and exhibition spaces, but remember that speeches without a container would not find the right space. I wish to introduce, therefore, Enrico Pazzali, the chairman of Fondazione Fiera Milano, to join us. Good morning everyone, dear chairman, dear chair people, welcome to Fiera Milano. I too must say that I am very excited because today I have witnessed something innovative. I don't know if to call this the passing on of duties and roles. I saw your son, I saw your passion, I saw the minds which already marked our past experience together with Gigi when we met a few years ago, and already at the time we're defining a different path compared to what you had done up to then. And this is typical of you and of this extraordinary industry, which, as your daughter was saying, is the very roots of our future, of our progress. I love the comparison. Steel is undoubtedly an element which is inside us, it's part of our daily lives, and above all, it is one of the tracks for our future, for our progress. I am the host as well, that's certain. And although the chairman was saying this in perhaps an exaggerated way, but I'm also an exhibition man. I know how important the exhibition is. It's a very important tool for industrial policy. And this role is being played in a very important way. And the innovation you are bringing us as an industry, but also as an exhibition, is a goal which we see not just with great admiration, but we believe that in the future we will be able to cover this path together. We're at the beginning of a new path. You're speaking of regeneration. That's the correct word, especially after what we went through with the pandemic. We are regenerating ourselves, but in the wake of sustainability and innovation. But I would like to push this challenge to a topic which we see in other fields. that of increasingly joining up with the supply chain. We spoke of this with the chairperson. The more the supply chain cooperates, is united and consistent, the stronger the industry. And as we are number 2 today, nothing stops us from becoming number 1 thanks to innovation, sustainability, and creating a future with our supply chain with an even higher cooperation with Fiera Milano. Of course, I will stop here. I wish you all fruitful proceedings and best of luck, because I see that the results are already good. So I hope that you all have a wonderful experience in our exhibition. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you. And speaking of the supply chain and steel, I'd like to invite Professor Antonio Gozzi, who is the chairperson of Federacciai. Good morning everyone. I believe that together with just a few of you, were some of the survivors of the first edition of 20 years ago of Made in Steel. And on behalf of the Italian steel community, I wish to express a very sincere and heartfelt thanks to Manuel, to his team, his wonderful team, to his children, who are indeed playing a new role, because before you, the Italian steel community had a major problem in terms of communication and storytelling, in the sense that we were all very busy with our day-to-day work. And so we did things and without really communicating that much. But the era we're living in is such that if you don't communicate, you run the risk of not existing. And if you don't do storytelling, if you don't have a story to tell, and it must be a beautiful story, like the story of Italian steel, you lose in terms of competitive advantage. Others just push you in a corner, and you lose space. In these 20 years, you have built this storytelling. And you have also helped us to be a little more convinced ourselves. So I'll say this tomorrow in my presentation. The Italian steel industry is a European champion. There is no European steel industry which is as decarbonized as the Italian one, because no European country produces more than 80% of the steel from electric arc furnaces. This is a great record, which places us in a poor position compared to the transition processes facing us. But like all records, it must be defended. It must be built day after day, and you have to fix yourselves objectives which are increasingly ambitious in order to be up to standard with what is expected of you. And in this effort, the fact of having united the community, putting together producers, retailers, service centers, and the fact of having tried to create a storytelling fil rouge to this community is indeed an extraordinary gift of incredible value. We will be eternally grateful to you for this. And as usual, you're also sensitive, because in the playoff of this year's edition, you have chosen a true topic which involves many steel industries, many steel companies, that of handing over the baton to the next generation, of passing the baton, the torch on. I'll speak of this too tomorrow during my presentation at the general meeting of Federacciai. And I believe that this works if it happens basing ourselves on values. It works if next to the simple transmission of the command levers and the power of companies, you also transmit founding values of Italian steel, the Italian steel industry, which from this point of view too, speaking of sustainability and inclusion, efficiency, flexibility, adaptation, has indeed created its identity. We are important, we are European champions, and we play in the World Cup because of these values. And it's important to transmit these with communication and storytelling to the new generation. So I wish you all a good Made in Steel. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, for your words. We will soon see a trip devoted to storytelling and narration. And now I give the floor to the chairman of Assofermet, Riccardo Benso. An applause, please. Well, first of all, I must say it's a great pleasure to be here once again together with you all, friends, competitors, customers, suppliers. And just like Chairman Gozzi said, it's extraordinary to meet here every 2 years, thanks to you. You who have had this extraordinary idea of trying to put together a community, which indeed had some difficulties in creating a dialogue amongst themselves. But this happens in many economic spheres. But you have managed to create an event with patience, but also thanks to the strong cooperation of some of us who have managed to understand this idea, which was highly innovative at the time. And so this initial salute, this opening ceremony of this 3-day event is great. And I'd like to thank all the people sitting in front of us, those working in their stands and the organizers, because this is a moment in which, independently from what each and every one of us does, we can build bridges between ideas which sometimes do not totally coincide. But in a supply chain which is as important as this, and which generates such an important economic contribution to Italy and to the European continent, it is of fundamental importance to make an effort to play all together and try to have this dialogue. And this takes me back to the fact that today, the day in which we celebrate Europe possibly with peace and unity between countries, something which has instead seen looming clouds with the crisis between Ukraine and Russia. And let us say that today, the 9th of May, the day in which we celebrate Europe, I would like to say that these efforts, the efforts carried out by people, by countries, by companies, associations, to try to reason on more complex systems like the steel industry and supply chain. And this takes me back to what Paolo said, and we've had a chance of speaking of this together, and I'd like to say congratulations to Paolo and Francesca and wish them all the best for everything they will do. I'm sure they will do very well. And so I've certainly seized this opportunity of doing things in such a way as to generate even more cooperation, despite the enormous work done by Manuel in these years. And so this effort, which takes us all towards the world of transformation of e-news and users, trying to connect the world between what is upstream, our suppliers, the steel producers, and those who process the steel, without whom nothing exists. Because if we forget our customers, our clients, everything disappears, everything. And so what I hope, and I'm sure that this is going to happen, because I see this extraordinary cooperation amongst all of us, and I see also a growing cooperation between associations and also systems of different European countries. Well, with this incredible attention we will devote in the next few years to the plan linked to sustainability and everything it represents in detail, the effort to generate a sustainable world, and so transport a world to the next generation. And the next generation will have to give opportunities which are the same, or at least just like those we had. And I'm convinced that thanks to all this, we can indeed go along a constructive path which will lead to great results. So all the best to everyone. Thank you, Francesca, thank you, Paolo, thank you, Manuel, and wish you all the best. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. As I said before, our sponsors, our supporters, and starting from BPER Banca, we would like to thank them not just for their support, but for having truly understood our idea of the future. Today we have with us the person in charge of retail and commercial banking of BPER Banking, Stefano Vittorio Kun. Good morning everyone. Well, first of all, I wish to start saying that I too am a survivor because Chairman Morandi, I don't know if you remember, but I was there in the first edition, and so I too could follow everything which has been done in these years. And so the real motivation for which BPER Banca is here is because we are studying, and I think that we have wonderful masters and teachers, because the commitment BPER Banca places on the steel industry is great. It's higher than our Italian share. It means that we're investing in supporting the supply chain in a more than proportional way compared to what we do in the rest of Italy. These are important numbers, and these are convictions which we place at the service of an activity which is predictive. We know that this supply chain is predictive on the Italian economy. The effects we record on what we learn in each Made in Steel, in every steel event or public event, also using the numbers you make available. I believe that this is a virtuous example of how to put as a common denominator the culture, information and trends. And BPER Banca does this with great conviction. We do this, we want to do this increasingly, and with reference to the ESG topic, which is very dear to the heart of the chairman of Federacciai. Well, in the recovery plan of BPER Banca, we have important sums of money allotted to support this activity, and we want to make them available through records we are proud of, and it's part of the Italian economy. Thank you, and I wish you a great Made in Steel. Thank you very much. Thank you all for having brought us your greetings and your ideas of the future. As Homo sapiens, we are also Homo narrans, animals capable of storytelling and listening to stories. The economist Luigino Bruni writes, at the basis of the most important moments of our lives, there are facts and experiences which have become stories, which we have described to our children, and they to our grandchildren. And every time we said this, we understood them better and changed them a little. Today it is more than urgent, as Professor Gozzi underlined, to be united in an intellectual effort to reimagine a new world and to imagine the new future of our supply chain too. Let us think of all the challenges which our world is witnessing, starting from geopolitics, inflation, environmental problem. We have to imagine a new world, and to do this we need new storytelling, a new story, new words. And to write a new story, we have to choose an innovative way, the words we can start off from. And for this edition, we wanted something brand new. We wanted to give the description of a new storytelling to two women who are prime movers of our time, two women who, through different lenses, interpret the market and the Italian economy. Two different lenses, complementary but absolutely necessary. And so I invite to join me here on the podium Emma Marcegaglia, the chairperson and CEO of Marcegaglia Holding, Marcegaglia Steel and Holding. Welcome. On the 6th, she officially opened Casa Marcegaglia. Congratulations for this great objective. And I wish to welcome also Claudia Parzani, partner of Linklaters, chairman or chairwoman of Borsa Italiana SPA, and vice chairman of Il Sole 24 Ore SPA. She too has won in Rome the Guido Carli Award devoted to Italian talents and the state expert. Welcome. So we will soon see a trip of emotions guided by two prime movers whose rhythm will be described by words. And so Emma and Claudia don't need me. I leave you the podium and I wish you all the very best. Thank you. The first word is roots. Roots, very well. Good morning, first and foremost. Thank you for the invitation. This is the only conference in the world. Well, you start a quarter of an hour in advance, so congratulations. Roots. Well, I went to look up on the dictionary what roots means. It is that part of the plant specialized in the absorption of water, sun, which are fundamental for life and for anchorage, to be deep-rooted. So for me, roots means exactly this. It means for women entrepreneurs, roots coming from the legacy which our father has and our mother have left us. The roots are the story of our company, set up in 1959 from scratch, thanks to the intuition and the extraordinary work of our father, and which has led us to be a company with a 9 billion turnover leader in the processing of steel. Roots is values, because the company is a growth process, products, but above all values, the value of the corporate social responsibility. Our father used to teach us and say to me and my brother, look, we are the owners of the company, but we are just the managers for a limited period of time of a more wide-ranging asset. The idea that the company must be profitable, but that it must have a great social responsibility. It's a moment of strengthening, of creation of well-being for our workers, for our customers, for our suppliers, for a community. And so these are my roots, and I think that it's important to have roots, because if you have roots and you're solid and well anchored, you're stronger also making great entrepreneurial choices, the choices of internationalization, the choices we recently took, carrying out acquisitions in different industries, the production of steel with the acquisition of a steel works for stainless steel in Sheffield, where stainless steel was created. Roots also means having the capacity of tackling very complex moments. Think of everything we've experienced during COVID. To have roots means having the strength to overcome all this. And so roots are the legacy of values, of a beautiful story which myself and my brother try to promote in the best of ways.
Good morning also from me. Roots. Well, of course, we have already heard about the definition in the vocabulary, and I would like to convey a picture. Amongst the different plants, I choose the vine, also because I come from the Franciacorta area, which is an area where a lot of steel is produced and processed, and I think about roots in terms of being rooted into something, so talking about values. But, I mean, how can you have wings if you do not have roots? Because I believe this is the main topic today, especially if we think about generations. The huge responsibility of a father or a mother transferring to future generations and to all the stakeholders, to all the people that rotate around the world of a company. So fathers and mothers donate roots to allow the next generation to have wings, because you need courage. We all must be aware of what we have. We must make a strategic analysis of what we are missing, what we need, and we need a lot of courage to go beyond. Because the time has come to go beyond. Companies have to become social enterprises. Young people evaluate companies. So they want to know what companies are going to do, what they are going to do, which will be their role in that given company. This is a big change. which is imposed by young generations. It is the fight for talents, and I believe that it is paramount to know your roots, to have the courage to fly. Shall we move on to another word? The second word is talent. Well, I would like to go back to what Claudia told us, and once again, I will give you the dictionary definition. The talent is the innate skill that makes a person appear more exceptional than another. There are many different talents, of course. Motivation, flexibility, intelligence, tenacity, problem solving. These are all examples of talents. And I believe that today, an entrepreneur has to attract and retain talents in his or her company. We read this every day. I mean, the main problem healthy companies have today, the real bottleneck is competencies, the quest for competencies. And one of the fundamental issues is attracting talents, retaining them, give them room to develop. And we have to understand that today's talented people are different from the people of our generation. We're talking about young people who pay care to sustainability, life quality, their own independence. So entrepreneurs must understand this and must meet these needs. So we need to put all these talents together, make a team, so that this team of talents can work together for the good of the company. Marcegaglia and my brother Antonio is here with us, whom I would like to thank for all what we do together. So we together have decided to create an academy, which has a purpose of developing the competencies and skills that we need to win future challenges and to attract and retain talents. So we're not only going to teach commercial techniques, production techniques, we will teach geopolitics, leadership, entrepreneurship, digitization, cybersecurity. So with the idea that a group of talents together can lead our company together with us to tackle future challenges. So attracting and retaining talents is the most important challenge for all entrepreneurs today. I absolutely agree. The biggest challenge is the fight for talents. And new generations are actually teaching us in the sense that if we're able to listen to them, we will learn a lot. Not only to attract and retain talents, but also to think about future generations of consumers, future generations of shareholders. So the new world, in other words. Of course, if I think about talents, I can also think about the coins. Since talents used to be coins, I believe that we all have at least one talent. So the time has come for companies to make these talents grow, so attract the most evident talents and to cultivate the talents that have been neglected. So we need to look at generations in their entirety, and we must commit ourselves, like Emma's example, the academy, to cultivate those talents that have been neglected, because it is a time for skilling and reskilling. The time has come to realize that maybe we are not able to do the jobs of the future. So it is a very special and particular moment. Everything is moving so fast. And I think if everyone here had to incorporate a company, the Marcegaglia, I mean, would you do it as it is now, or would you do something different? I mean, we're all leading big ships like the Titanic, trying to rescue the past and meeting the present and the future. And it is a complicated
and highly strategic effort, and I believe that the human capital plays a fundamental role. So with our human capital, with our talents, we must be inclusive. We must be able to give room in a different and new way, and we must focus on cross-pollination. That is, it is important to have people coming from different industries, different situations, talking about gender, generation, geographical origin, to be able to have the widest and most diversified catchment area of talents as possible. The third word is confidence. Well, I believe that an entrepreneur, first of all, has to be confident in his or herself, in his or her stuff, with a positive attitude. This is not naive optimism, but it means identifying opportunities also in the worst moments, trying with your team to overcome problems, giving a certain feeling of safety and security to your people. COVID-19 brought about a totally new and unexpected situation. I remember that my brother and I and our 30 managers, we were confident about our capabilities. We tried to do everything possible to keep going, to overcome difficulties, and as soon as the market started again, we immediately grew and developed, and this allowed us to reach excellent results. So some people, some of our employees came to us and said, what is going to happen? What will happen to the company? What will happen to our families? So reassuring your people is very important in certain situations. And we were confident in ourselves, we were confident in our staff. When we launched our new initiative, we are transformers, but we have also become seed producers. Of course, we first wondered, are we going to be successful? So if you're confident, you can look at the future. You can overcome difficulties, challenges, you can keep your group together, you can help those who might have some difficulties with this cross-pollination that you mentioned, so that we can all go in the same direction. And an entrepreneur who is not confident cannot look at the future. But we are very confident in our staff, in our stakeholders, and I believe that this is one of the secrets of our success. Let me conceive a picture once again, thinking about confidence. I'm thinking about crystal. Crystal is something that if it breaks, you cannot mend. This is confidence, and we have learned, given the complex scenarios we are witnessing, and that will probably characterize our future, because we have entered a new age, we're moving at a different speed, with complex situations that just do not come to an end to give room to other complexities, but actually are present all together. So I believe that confidence is like a beautiful crystal object. No board can work well if there is no confidence and trust in the CEO, amongst the directors. The spirit of a board must be that of working together, of contributing, of earning the other directors' trust. And no company works unless there is confidence and trust, because they actually lead to respect. And respect is what consumers demand today. In every single category, they
want to be able to choose. And we need the people who can choose. We want them to be part of our value chain. We want them to work for us. These are the people that must be with us on a daily basis. So confidence and trust is something that you must cultivate, like the little prince used to cultivate his rose. It is the time dedicated to the rose that makes a rose important. So it is a time we dedicate to people that makes people important. But without those people, we are not a company. Therefore, confidence, trust, the crystal, the rose, let's not forget the beauty of the human capital. And let's not forget how important it is to listen to other people, to create a trust that has roots.
The fourth word is sustainability. Yes, of course, this is the fundamental word we are all talking about. In our case, sustainability is once again a set of values which are an integral part of our strategy, our long-term strategy. From my point of view, sustainability, of course, is environmental in nature, but it must always be matched with an economic sustainability and a social sustainability. You can't have one kind of sustainability which is not in harmony with the other kinds. Today, of course, we discuss a lot about environmental sustainability, and our industry is of great importance for this. There are enormous transformations underway, 30 billion of investments, 50 billion of new OPEX. There's a revolution underway, and we believe in this. What we ask, and we say this out loud as the industrialists of this industry, is that sustainability must be promoted, but it must be done in a pragmatic way and not in an ideological way on the basis of technological neutrality, because we believe in this. We want this to be done in the best of ways. For Marcegaglia, as I said before, sustainability is a set of values which must be matched and transformed into a series of practical initiatives, because values must be practical initiatives. Let me mention some. We invest in Stora Steel, the first steel mill producing totally green steel in Sweden, but we're also great off-takers of this steel mill. We've signed a contract for 1.7 billion where we will acquire this green steel and we'll distribute this in the southern part of Europe. And in 2030, we want to have at least 20% of our steel green, to be green, together with ENI's, NAM, and other hard-to-abate industrialists, are part of a very interesting pilot project for carbon capture, capture and use of CO2, which will become another very important technology. We are working, of course, to replace and for the use of hydrogen in our re-annealing, but also in hot rolling. We're investing a lot in photovoltaic because an integral part of our energy must come from photovoltaic sources. In other words, for us, sustainability is extremely important. We believe that if it's done in the right way, it can become a distinctive element of a healthy company looking to the long term. We believe that it is also ethically just to do this, and it's important, however, that this be done in a serious, pragmatic, non-ideological way, placing the attention of the companies focused on technological neutrality, which is very important. First of all, congratulations, because sustainability, going back to the wonderful opening video, is the future. If there is a word which brings us into the future and projects us also more long-term, is the topic of sustainability. When there's the acronym ESG, I often say it means sustainability and not survival, because unfortunately we come from years in which we have gotten used to a vision which is more short-term. That is, the emergency often placed us in a condition, even those who perhaps were younger or defenseless or close to carrying out certain investments, found themselves in a situation of survival, whereas sustainability brings us far ahead into the future. And I believe that it necessarily asks for a vision which we call a double L, long and large term. I totally agree with what Emma said, of course, the topic of the length, the depth, the necessary time, and the impacts. But in a large term view, you need to have what the English call a helicopter view. In other words, we need to understand how everything impacts for others. There is one part which is missing, in my opinion. What often is missing is being practical, being consistent. It's difficult to see how this translates. I'm a very practical and pragmatic woman, and I was telling my daughters in Brescia that with each action you must have a step or understand why you don't do something or when you will do something. In this case, we have a very important topic, that of trying to understand the feasibility of some things within the timing requested and the impact of these. Because the risk is to decline the theory and find ourselves in decision-making processes which have not taken into consideration many of the impacts which this might have. Now, in your supply chain, this is an enormously important topic. And so we welcome moments of sharing, moments of thinking together, or education on geopolitical topics, as you were saying. How can you imagine an impact if you don't have an excellent understanding of the geopolitical situation? It's difficult to choose photovoltaic and then not know which is the scenario. And so this is the part which is extremely complicated and fascinating of our sustainability. I like to say that it is no longer the time of having just one man or one woman in command. Sustainability asks for groups of managers. Emma called her 30 managers and her brother. Companies need a lot of intelligence. Companies need different sensitivities and experiences, and sustainability more than ever takes advantage from this cross-fertilization, with the possibility of interpreting the future step by step. And if you'll allow me, I see that this is done increasingly often. It's not the person who will come after you who will do this, because in companies you have managers replacing each other. So if some time spans sometimes think they are far away, many people prefer to remain in the present and enjoy the fruits of successful past, but have difficulty in committing themselves with courage for the future, which appears to be very complicated and which requires investments. I can assure you, Claudia, that this is a sector which is working a lot on this topic. The fifth word is sustainability. No, if you want, we can repeat. No, let's skip this. No, the fifth word is innovation. Yes, of course. As you can see, we are truly interpreting the key words of the future. And if you look at the dictionary, innovation means creating a positive change, alternating the order of established things as they are to create new things. If you think about this is the essence of entrepreneurship. It's the idea of inventing new products, new processes, a new governance, a different way of approaching your people, as we said, production formula, strategic positioning, which is different. We it changes when times change. For example, a good entrepreneur anticipates his time, can foresee what his needs are going to be. When with your company you have to interpret things and create an opportunity, even from complex and uneasy events. And this is innovation. So trying to give examples of this, practical examples, we believe that with the passing of the years, our strategic positioning was innovation. We are great steel processors. We're present in all the fields of steel, or in carbon, stainless steel, flats, longs, specialties, commodities. So we have a platform of products, of customers, and of logistics, which is very wide-ranging and which allows us to have a unique positioning. This was thanks to the policies of my father, and then myself and my brother Antonio have made this even stronger. This is an innovation in terms of positioning. Another innovation we're doing is the use of artificial intelligence to make our plants more efficient. More efficient also from an energy viewpoint. We have a project called a Master Model, where all our metal and steel lines are connected amongst themselves, and they learn to be more efficient from every position. We are automating the entire logistics part. When the coil arrives from the ship to the moment in which it is loaded by the lorry, everything is done automatically, and we're presenting here at the exhibition we're presenting a new product done with a digital printer, where on a zinced strip through a printer for the entire length of the coil, with, of course, an industrial efficiency and speed on the coil, we can have a picture of you, of your children, or apart from this, it's a use of steel for architecture, for design, and which opens up new paths and new fields. And so innovation is truly at the basis of each thought of entrepreneurs. Going back to what Claudia said, to do this in the best of ways, of course, you need very quick entrepreneurs who are capable, but you need a group of people who believe in innovation, who work for innovation, who have a broad mind, who have cross-fertilization with different minds. And this is the moment, as Claudia said, we need a lot of innovation, because we're in a moment in time where a new era is arriving, a different era from before, an era marked by less globalization, perhaps partly by deglobalization, lower growth rates, a very complex geopolitical position or energy transition, which pushes us all to change our ways of seeing things, new talents to involve. And so this is the moment in which we have to do a lot of innovation and do this in the best of ways. And for this, it's interesting that each one of us does innovation in his or her own company, but we've got to work to make sure that we have platforms with other colleagues, research centers, universities. Open innovation can truly help us to contaminate knowledge, to overcome barriers, become increasingly strong, competitive, and innovative in inventing what we don't see today, but which future generations will want. Innovation, well, as Emma was very rightly pointing out, is a lifestyle. It's a way of being entrepreneurs. And I don't think that there is another way of doing things today. The loss of value of those when faced with the question reply, we've always done things this way. Well, it's no longer that way. You can no longer do things this way. And so you can no longer not ask yourself questions, and we should instead ask ourselves the question, how can I do this in a different way? And so here we have continuous innovation. It might be the governance model. I often teach that we can be extremely innovative with the governance. Governance, with the acronym ESG, is the input which leads to the output in terms of the environment and human capital. And there it's of fundamental importance to be innovative, to create different means of communication, of including the youngest. Why not have a mirror board? You have perhaps family-run companies, include the youngest generations in a parallel board. Give them the 3 or 4 pillars of your strategy and ask them to come back after 6 months. Don't influence them, don't cross-fertilize them, give them zero budget. They will revolutionize a good part of your company. These are incredible things. I've tested these, I've done these things. And I left a lot of entrepreneurs with a lot of astonishment. The youngest people bring inside them topics like the digital part, innovation, ESG, in a very natural way. And to give them the capacity of having a voice at the same time in a way which interferes less, it doesn't create imbalances in the management part of the company, means, however, having the advantage of fresh wind, ideas and innovation. Let me add another thing. Innovation and sustainability are 2 things which require a lot of investments. So just a second spot for the stock exchange. I wish to remind everyone that, in my opinion, what's important in a company today is to acquire flexibility, is to have more doors open along your own corridor. In a system which has always been very much bank-centric, I wish to remind you that companies of different sizes can assess a lot of different opportunities. The stock exchange can be one thing, private equity another, but the innovation and sustainability stage and a change towards these requires investments and size or support which is different. Yes, this must be the stock exchange. They ask for investments. They ask for investments. Require investments. Let me try again. I switch this off. Investments support, which is different. And so the idea of acquiring flexibility, investing in flexibility and having more opportunities is of fundamental importance. So let me close on this suspense note. So now the audio is back. The 6th word is success.
Another very interesting word. I believe that for each one of us, success means realizing a dream, a value, a project. Well, I would like to quote 3 elements on which I would like to work. The company, together with Antonio, we have defined a target for the next few years, which can be summarized in the following figures. 10 billion turnover. We're quite close, 9 billion. 1 billion EBITDA, which means a company that grows, develops, innovates, and is profitable, because profitability allows you to do all the things that you were naming. Because as you correctly said, you need investments. You need capital to support growth. So, 0 emissions. Our target is to be a 0 emission company. In our scope 1 and scope 2, since we process, we're transformers, we already have a very low emission level, but we also want to work on our scope 3. That is the emissions that we bring inside our system, purchasing raw materials. 0 accidents at work. We already have a very strong culture. We have achieved significant improvement. 1 single accident is a failure, It's a huge problem, so we want to have 0 accidents at the workplace. And then, of course, our main topic, together with Antonio, is to have a company that is strong, innovates, grows, has a strong equity base, and is socially and environmentally sustainable. The second success we aim at is to be a good mother. My daughter is 20 years old. She is still studying. And together with my husband, we are trying to transfer our values so that she has roots. We want her to look at her future in the best possible way. So conjugating the fact of being an entrepreneur and a mother, which is not easy. So this is my second success aim. And the third success aim is that of giving something back to society, learning and giving. And this is why I have been the president of Confindustria, Business Europe, president of the university, Lewis University. I mean, when you're privileged, like in my case, it is only right to give back, to give to society your experience, what you know, and promote the economic and social progress, contributing to the overall improvement of the society and the country where you work. I absolutely agree with your success target. I would also like to reach 10 billion turnover. I'm joking, of course. But I have quite a long list of targets in my life. But I would like to talk about the other side of the coin of the word success, which is failure. I am fighting a battle. I'm very close to the young people, very close to a generation who is trying to identify their role in society. So I am trying to get closer to the so-called American culture. That is, you try, maybe you're not successful the first time. So I think failures are useful. Failures are useful because success is like a golden gate, of course. You want to be successful. You make an effort. You want to get there. But there's something we need to valorize in companies as well. I mean, you don't reach success through a straight line from A to B, but you proceed by trial and error. And I like to think that we must all be like the athletes. I mean, an athlete knows that to be successful, it is necessary to train. That many competitions will be lost. I mean, read what Michael Jordan wrote. How many times he missed the basket. How many games were lost because of him not performing in the final moment. So, and we must be like scientists. We must experiment. I mean, we have said several times that things are changing quickly, that everything is complex. I mean, let's give us a chance to try. Otherwise, fear could actually trick us. And if you do not have your strong roots, your economic solidity to dare trying, living in fear means regressing. If you stand still, you regress. So, entrepreneurs and mothers must always bear in mind that before reaching success, naturally you have to go through many different experiences which sometimes are not told. But sharing also that part, the failures, should become our habit in the company, at home, in the universities. The seventh word is freedom. Freedom is everything. There's no future, there's no progress without freedom. freedom of word, freedom of action, freedom to manifest, but also freedom from inequality, from poverty, freedom of access to schools. We all have to work for freedom. Thanks God, we have freedom. It is Europe's day today, and a couple of minutes ago, Chancellor Scholz said, we fight for freedom, not only in Europe, but also outside of Europe, talking about the dramatic war in Ukraine. So we all have to work for freedom. Starting from what we can do as individuals, as entrepreneurs. This means leaving freedom of action for our talents to develop, but we also have to work for freedom at an individual base. We must always fight for freedom. And freedom also means freedom from inequality. The world is very complex, and governments on their own cannot fight inequality. Companies must work hard to fight inequality. Freedom from needs is a fundamental freedom, as is freedom from ignorance. In our country, we still have the lowest number of people with university degrees. We have 2 million young people who do not study and do not work. So freedom from ignorance is another fundamental freedom. Without freedom, there's no future. When I talk with friends, sometimes they say, well, think about China. Well, I am convinced that also true economic development, sustainable, long-term sustainable economic development is based on freedom. If there is no freedom, economic development won't hold in the long term. So once again, we are privileged, we are lucky. I always tell my daughter, I mean, many things you take for granted are something many young people do not even dream of. Think of Afghanistan and of the many wars all over the world. So we need to defend freedom. But, and I would like to conclude on this, freedom has rules. It is not anarchy. It means complying with rules, committing yourself, committing to your duties. There's not only rights in freedom, there are also duties. The true freedom is a mixture of rights, duties, and rules you have to follow. Otherwise, it is anarchy. Right, I'm taking the baton regarding the rules because I do not want to repeat what you have already said. Very often, thinking about guaranteeing freedom as equality, equal opportunities, sometimes we have to take stances for issues regarding gender equality. I mean, there are many different types of freedoms where there is space for improvement, but the rules provide us with a framework. And if we want to improve freedom, the freedom in our life and that we want to offer to other people, I always have a priority. I believe that you cannot break all the rules. So let's find that rule that does no longer reflect today society, that has no reason to exist any longer. And let's push to the point that the rule is no longer there. This is freedom, in my opinion. Freedom means to know, and I'm talking to the people sitting in this room today, that most likely we all have powers, and we need to use our power in a way that I define as a round way. So the power to make a decision in the company, the power of taking the responsibility of allowing our young staff member to make a few mistakes, placing them in a safe farm, in a safe harbor, in a protected area. So freedom is what we
all can conquer to the advantage of other people as well. And let me add this. Sometimes the price is high. But the time has come for good people to be active. You have to pay your bill. Also, you have to pay the price for freedom. The eighth and last word is generations. Well, this is also the theme of this wonderful fair. When we talk about future generations, and we have already hinted to this, future generations, I mean, generations are the future generations, and future generations are what we need. Our country maybe is not doing enough for them. Well, we know that we have the highest number of unemployed individuals amongst young people. Also, the employment rate of young people is the lowest in Europe. We have 2 million young people who are not studying and not working. The salary gap is the widest to the disadvantage of young people. I've read a couple of articles saying that the gap in the last 20 years has doubled between the young people and older people. The COVID-19 pandemic has worsened the situation of young people. Also, psychologically, I've seen what my daughter has gone through. So I believe that we all have to work on this. Our task as entrepreneurs is to employ young people, attract talents, make them feel part of a project, allowing them to grow, providing them with an academy to extol the talents they have, to improve their competence. And I also think that we must help them as people, as individuals. So I like to talk to the young people. When they invite me to talk to young people, I always follow the invite. Just like you, Claudia, I've accepted to be part of a mentorship project organized by the municipality of Milan. And I've met my girls a couple of days ago, and it is so interesting because I met 2 very different girls. The younger one says, I'm shy, I didn't manage to overcome my fears, but at the same time she said, I want to be an oncologist. And I want to be more confident because when in front of my patients, I want to show that I am confident so that they can trust me. And the other girl is a little bit older. She is attending an MBA course, and she's also a researcher in physics. She's a very strong young woman. She's studying abroad, and she says, I love Italy, but I do not want to come back because there's no room for me in Italy. There are no opportunities. And I tried to explain to her that things are different. There are many companies today that are ready to open their doors to talents. So, I mean, I do not want to speak for too long, but new generations are everything. We need their heart, their brain, their mind. And we need to do something, the government, the schools, but the entrepreneurs as well, to give them a room to support them so that this generation, which is less lucky, most likely this is the first generation that will have less richness, less wealth than their parents for the first time after the Second World War. So we must support them, help them, make them understand that there is room for them, that we understand what is important for them. Because they all talk about ethics, sustainability. I mean, before coming to work in your company, I want to know about your sustainability strategy. So we need to open our arms and embrace them, understand them, and at the same time, make them understand that they have to commit themselves, that they need to work to improve. So I believe that it is a great opportunity for us and for them. It is a big added value and a big cultural enrichment also for us. So this is our commitment, a fundamental commitment towards our young people. Thank you. Well, I would like to conclude with two concepts. I fully agree on what Emma said, and I would like to summarize this with a sentence. It is a sentence I have carved in a stone in my office saying, we did not receive this world as the heritage of our fathers. Actually, we are lending it from our children. And this explains very well the big responsibility that we have. But let me interpret the concept of generations in a wider way, not focusing only on young people, because there are many different generations. I have 3 daughters. The first one is 18, the last one is 14, and in digital terms, they're a generation apart. So please think about the following. Today we have heard several times about giving the baton. And I have grown in a professional context where elderly people were people you had to pay respect to. You were not allowed to open your mouth until they had spoken. And we have always measured competence on a linear axis, on the timeline. The older the person, the more competence this person has acquired. But we have seen that young people naturally have some competences. Think about sustainability, ESG, the climate, the planet, digitization. And I would like to leave you with the following thought that goes back also to the idea of an innovative governance. Maybe today, for the first time, the paradigm according to which competence is the fruit or the result of experience is no longer valid. So we need cohabitation, respectful living together, including all these generations. In our company, we often have 4 or 5 generations living together. So I believe that the most successful companies will be the companies able to allow for this respectful cohabitation so that everybody can express his or her own mind, being sure that generations, today's topic, is the right way to live together. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Emma and Claudia. A big round of applause for both of you. Thank you for taking us on this very interesting journey. Thank you, Emma. Thank you, Claudia. Bringing the Little Prince on the stage of the 10th edition of our conference and exhibition brings beauty and honors us. Thank you very much also for your time. It is the time we dedicate to a rose that makes the rose important. So thank you very much for your time, for taking us on this journey with you, and for being once again leaders and testimonials at Generations. I wish you all profitable Made in Steel, and we will leave you with our video.